course, you'll have a PDF with a cheat sheet for your signature sizes. And this is going to be very helpful. You don't have to follow, these specific notebook sizes, but it'll give you an idea on what size paper you need to create the journal size that you want. Now, some people may be more comfortable working in a small field note size notebook. This is 3.5 inches wide, 5.5 inches tall. The paper that you'll need to create this book should be double the width or the length. So this would be 7.5 inches long, and the height would stay the same. So 5.5 inches tall and 7 inches long. This would create a field note size notebook. Now, if you prefer something a little bit bigger than that, you may want, something that, when you open it, it needs to be 10 inches or 12 inches long, so it would be 6 inches closed. So once you figure out the size notebook that you want to create, or the size journal that you want to create, then you can measure your paper and cut it to the right size for that notebook. And again, it's a really simple formula. You just want the journal to be double the length and the same height that it will be when closed. So here, let me show you. And I'm going to do this the easy way, but here you may be using a ruler. So I'm going to use my cutting mat, and I'm going to take some graph paper. Now, graph paper is pretty thin, so for a graph paper journal, I can probably do 15 to 20 sheets, where a thicker paper, you may only do 5 or 10 sheets for a signature. 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm only going to do 10 to start, just so you don't have to watch me count to 20. Okay? Now, I am going to do a field notes sized notebook. So, according to this, for the field notes, I need 7 inches long, 5.5 inches tall. So what I do is I measure here, and you grab a pencil, and I'm going to mark 7 inches long, right here, 5.5 inches tall, right here. Now, if you don't have this and you're using a ruler, you're going to want to make sure that this is very straight. Let me find where I put my ruler. There it is. So same thing, you're going to want to make sure that this is straight against the ruler, like so, and then you're going to want to measure at 7 inches, and then over here, at 5.5 inches. Okay? Once you have that measured, this is where you're going to cut. Now, if you're using an X-Acto knife, again, you want to make sure that this is very straight, and you're going to want to line it up, and you're going to want to cut your paper down. And then you're going to want to cut your paper like this, and use your ruler as a guide to make sure you're cutting in a straight line. I'm not going to do that because I like to do things the easy way. So I'm going to get my paper cutter, and this bit right here, and make sure everything is straight. And I'm going to cut this down, and I'll save this for another project. And then I'm going to cut this down. So here I have 5.5 inches tall, 7 inches long, and if I fold this in half like so, this should be the same size as the field notes. Exactly. This is one signature. I can create as many signatures as I want. So let's say I wanted to have one signature be graph paper, and then I want to do another with copy paper. I'm going to do exactly the same thing again. I'm going to measure out 10 sheets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now this paper is a little bit thicker, so I wouldn't go more than 10 sheets per signature. And I line it up. And I'm going to mark 7 inches and 5.5. And I always save my scraps because you'll always have a use for it in another project. I actually have a big bin that I keep all my scraps in. And I keep it right next to my desk for easy cleanup. You want to hold this in place if you're, well, either way. You may have to go through a few times to cut it down to size. And if you have a pair of scissors, I mean a bone folder will work too, but you might want to go over the crease like so. And you have another signature that should be the same size. Okay. A few options. If you prefer these to be attached, this is where you can poke holes and you can sew it. There's a number of ways to do that. Or you can use a stapler to staple it shut. Now if you're making a bigger book and the stapler's not going to reach here, this is an optional supply I didn't mention, but a long arm stapler is also great. These are optional things that you may want to consider at some point depending on the kinds of journals you make. However, this first journal that we're going to make, you don't really need to attach your signatures. And I'll show you why in the last step where we put everything together. But for now, I just have these two that are nice and folded. They're the right size. I'm going to set them aside, and now we're going to work on the cover. I hope this video inspires you to be creative and have fun. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.